Welcome back to the Unbreakable Mind podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Hicks. Today's guest is someone who represents a powerful era in music and a real story behind the scenes. Coming out of New York with roots in both Brooklyn and the Bronx, she built her name during a time when R&B, soul, and storytelling had substance. And I was doing my research, and what stood out to me is how her journey really began, taking a chance and getting her music into the hands of legendary DJ Funk Master Flex, which helped open the door to the industry. But what makes her story even more powerful is what happened after the success, the decision to step away, focus on family, and redefine what life and legacy truly means. This is a real conversation about music, growth, sacrifice, and purpose. So let's welcome Yvette Michele. How you doing, Yvette?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
I was listening to your music and I was doing a little research in you. And you come from New York. You're
Yes.
from Brooklyn and the Bronx?
Yes. Well, I was born in Brooklyn, but raised mostly between the Bronx and Harlem. My dad is
Okay.
from Harlem. My mom is from the South. So,
Okay. So how did that environment shape you as an artist from the
wow.
South?
I think that's the foundation of my sound. The fact that I was able to easily blend the two genres of hip hop and R&B. Music is part of New York's culture. So many things were defined as part of New York culture.
Mhm.
And I just always loved it all. And so I would have to say that it's the foundation or the fabric of who I am as an artist.
Right. So when did music go from something you loved to, to something you knew you were meant to do?
I think after I joined the church choir and I realized that I had a voice, when I started singing for people outside the church, once I was in the choir, I would get remarks about the strength of my voice, my tone, how controlled it was. I didn't realize I was being conditioned by singing in the choir at church. And so I had two sets of friends. I had my friends from school and outside the church and inside. And when I was away from the church, I realized that I had talent that appealed to others. And
Mhm.
that's when I started doing auditions and singing for the night's drinks or, just testing things out in the world outside of the security of those who love me. You know what
Right,
I
right.
mean? And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
that's
I
kinda when I started getting into those rebellious years, 19, 18. Moving
mhm.
away from home from my parents' rules, so to speak. I graduated from high school, but I was still living at home. So,
Good.
yeah.
So I read that you gave your demo to Funk Master Flex. He's a popular DJ in New York City. Everybody knows Funk Master Flex. How did that happen? How did you meet up with Flex?
Well, at the time, he was George to me because we went to high school together. We went to a
Okay.
very small Lutheran high school in the Bronx, and there was maybe one classroom for each grade level. So we all knew each other. We were roaming the same halls. And in high school, he was the chosen DJ again because of the size. He had, an advantage. He could raise his hand and likely be chosen to be that person managing music for our dances and events. And so after graduation, I see him in the street. I happened to be talking to another classmate recently who told me, George is Funkmaster Flex. And I'm like, what?
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so I run into him maybe 2 weeks later. And I'm in the throes of being disgusted with my job, raising two kids. My marriage is faltering. I'm looking at the music as an outlet, but
Mhm.
I'm wondering if there's something more.
Right,
And,
right.
I run into this guy and spill my guts. I hardly had ever talked about it. It just came out, and he's like, "Wow, you sing? I'm actually looking for somebody to do such and such on a project I'm working on."
Mhm.
I just feel it was destiny. I really can't explain those pieces, but
Now,
that's how I met George. Huh?
did you get on any of his? I know a lot of DJs do a lot of mixtapes. Did you get on any of his mixtapes?
I did. The mixtape that I recorded, my first record, was the very first commercially released mixtape in the world, and it
Okay.
was his way of taking the streets of New York City to the masses, and
Mm,
so what was historical about it, because we had it as New Yorkers as part of our normal day to day. They would be selling in the bodegas and the gas stations and different places like that, or on the
mhm.
street.
Right.
Put it in, the record stores. So I was the record or the song on that record that was original. All the others were mixed and previously released. So that's what made it special.
Oh, yeah. So what do you remember about that moment when things actually started moving for you?
Having to just unlearn and learn fast socially, learn how to
Mhm.
sit in certain spaces, speak when not to speak, not let fright or shyness overtake my opportunities. You know what I mean? You have to
Yeah,
grab moments when they're there. It took me a few fumbles, but and also just try new things always, never be stuck in a rut. When we traveled, I had to eat different food. There were things that certain artists just won't do. I just refuse to be pigeonholed. I would
right.
say if I bundled it in one theme, it would be just be flexible, learn fast, think on your
Yeah.
feet, you know?
So how did you actually get your first deal? How
Well,
did you
everything
get your first record deal? Was that through Funk Master Flex?
it actually was. He,
Okay.
in his deals with RCA, had the option to produce his own records. And so I had the option on volume 1 to do a single, and then after that, I was given the option by the same record company to do my own album. And so that was a blessing. It took about a year and a half, and it was kind of a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. I was happy doing singles. So when that came along, it made me really have to think about defining who I was as an artist.
Yeah. So what kind of deal did you have? Did you sign some of these artists when they come into the industry, I know from looking back and watching a lot of documentaries with other artists and how, the industry was and how they got ripped off by the industry and how they came in and they didn't know anything about the business side of it. Did you run into those type of problems when you got into the industry? And how many years of a contract did you sign when you first got in?
Well, the contract that I was given wasn't very flexible. Most newbies don't get all the bells and whistles. So it was probably 10 years, and I was locked in from everything from merchandise to songs that I recorded with the album, and maybe even some performance. But I didn't really budge from my position. I wanted to sing.
Okay.
The exposure, so I figured that I would enter in based on today's terms and then renegotiate, and so that's what I did. I didn't make it to stage 2 though. The record company decided they didn't wanna renegotiate based on sales from the first album and performances, they had benchmarks,
Right.
so worked out, but it just, wasn't what I had envisioned at first. I didn't leave with any debt. That is the key, you
That's
know?
good. That's good.
I didn't have to worry, and that's the blessing. I will never complain about that because that's
Yeah.
something that most artists have to deal with.
Yeah, and plus, like you said, you got the exposure too.
Exactly, that was
National
really what I wanted.
that's big, just getting
Yes,
exposure, because
exactly.
you could take that to another level.
Right,
Uh,
let's label it in that sense. You can use that as your means. I mean, the world knows my name at
right.
this point, who can ask for more? I did not expect this much at that time, you know?
Yeah, right. What did you learn about the industry when you was in the industry?
When I was in the industry, well, I would
Well, you're
say
still in the industry. I don't know
yeah,
why I
well,
say
I
when. You
mean,
still in.
yeah, but I think what I was trying to say is I didn't know anything then really, other
Right.
than it was of a different animal. It was a different it didn't have the same rules and tenets. I
Mhm.
knew that I had to be more thick-skinned, the kind of stuff that everybody knows.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't realize how much smoke and mirrors was involved,
Mhm.
and now as I return, I realize more how much business does drive it. It's a little sobering,
Mhm.
to how little art is involved at this point in time. Like, there are artists that are really talented that bubble up to the top, it's undeniable, but what keeps the business going are not just those people, and, when you step away, you kind of take the rose-colored glasses off, and you can see that a
Yeah.
little bit more. I think it gives you a little bit of liberation too as a returning artist because you're not in it to make the big bucks,
Mhm.
it's real about the art. It makes you focus on that and figure out how to use your former celebrity to do just enough to
To
let folks
leverage.
back and doing stuff, but not, be too sacrificial of your own integrity and what comes with that. So yeah, it's a nice spot. It's a nice spot to be in. A lot less pressure in terms of just being the product.
Okay.
You can kind of be easy in who you are to the table and have fun with it. That's the difference I see now. But the
Okay.
music business itself has not changed. It has not changed, and it is self-sustaining. Always go.
Right. And it changed a lot too because I used to be a manager. I used to manage a group back in the day, and I noticed how much the industry changed with this new technology now.
That's changed. Yes.
Because they don't give artists like big budgets, advance money, or anything anymore. Like everybody is being signed based on how many followers they have, and And to me, I don't think it takes away from the real talent.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying? Because
okay, yeah.
TikTok talent is only gonna last but so long.
You're right. You're right. It's hard. I like the fact that it's easy to identify new talent when it is
Right,
real. You can see it at your convenience. That part is good.
right,
I think I meant like once you get the deal. But you're right. The things we have to do now to maintain or even to build celebrity are they're counterintuitive. I don't like having to keep my phone in my face doing videos just to let people know I sing.
right.
That I would like a record that I do to carry that by itself like it used to, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do agree. The technology has helped and hurt.
yeah.
Now, who's making the song, who's singing the songs, but
Mhm.
you having the AI assistant because it allows you to churn out music faster if you're selling. So
Right. Yeah,
so, six in one hand, half a dozen in the other.
yeah,
Now
that's
that
gotta be
stuff
tough.
has changed. Yeah.
That's gotta be tough because you gotta market yourself. Like, back in the day, they would do all the promotion and marketing and videos and things
Right.
of that nature. Now, you have to market your own products,
That's
your own
right.
self,
That's
and
right.
that's tough because you can't is that hard trying to focus on
It is so difficult to switch hats. You
Yeah,
will have good ideas at the wrong time of day as a person, you don't write it down. Then you get online and you get caught in the scroll doom trying not to compare, but to get data to guide your journey to figure out how to differentiate. There's just so much going on. I just wanna be a fan sometimes and just do what I do, but
right,
that's the reality. And then there's still payola. A lot of these people are not are not visible because of just organic likes and their strategies. There's money being spent.
right,
So, if you're an independent artist, you're competing with that,
right.
and you hope to have somebody invest. If not, you just have to do it the flat foot way, but
Yeah,
love it for that,
yeah,
So,
yeah,
it has pros and cons, but you're right. You have to be dedicated because these are the hurdles.
yeah, and it gives you a lot more freedom too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
That's
thing.
true. Now that's true. And you
Yeah,
can try out one song a day with the technology if you can just see what people like until you figure it out. If
right,
that's strategy, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Is self-sufficient. I like that part. It makes me a little less hesitant
yeah,
because I have more control.
yeah, and there's not a lot of pressure,
That's true.
much
Yeah.
pressure.
Somebody's gonna like it out of all these people on Spotify, right?
Yeah, yeah, somebody
So,
gonna like it.
odds
Yeah,
or wherever, whatever you do.
yeah,
I like the cross-pollination too, writers, athletes, everybody's trying their hand at everything.
mhm,
So, I feel like in some space this time around, I'll be noticed for things that I do beyond singing as well by
yeah.
just getting comfortable with the technology. So,
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's something we have to know, and the thing is we have to keep up with this technology, or we'll be left behind if we don't. I found out that with what I do,
it started with the phones, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's like you said, it's like you have to have your phone in your face a lot now because
Exactly.
where before, back in the day, before we even had a phone, we didn't have to worry about having our face in the phone all
That's right.
day. And to me, it takes away. It has its good and its bad, like you said. I mean, to me, the bad part is all the pressure that you have to deal with on social media, and sometimes people can start, like you said earlier, start comparing themselves to other people and things like that, and that can cause a lot of anxiety. I know for
Yeah.
me, that's what happened for me.
Yeah.
Like I would get on there and then back in the day, you didn't even have access to celebrities unless you went to a train station and got a
That's
magazine
right.
and read. You'd be happy to go get that magazine. Be like, man,
And
I could,
study it. That's right. Now I can
yeah,
see, and I might get discouraged sometime because I see too much. The
right,
game vanished. So I'm thinking about that as a celebrity. How much of myself do I truly expose? Do they need to see me without makeup and a bonnet? You
right.
know what I mean? Like it's a lot that you think about. And if you're a thinker, overthinker,
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
I
me
just
too.
so I'm in that cycle, but I try to make sure I stay objective as much as possible.
Yeah.
And just keep my eye open. But the other thing you made a point about is really key. I probably would have made more mistakes by now if I didn't have people to watch. So
Okay.
to use the internet to watch Stephanie Mills, to
Right.
watch Melba Moore, to watch Karen White. I always bring her up because she is coming back so strong. Even
Hmm.
Taylor Dane and the freestyle ladies, they doing their thing over there, just in their 50s. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, this
Yeah.
is the lane. This is how you do certain things. And so that blueprint is really nice to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, it is. And then you get to see, the things that we couldn't see back in the day when you had
Right.
to go get the magazine, like, them just being their normal selves,
That's right.
in
That's
their
right.
houses and just chilling and just,
Makes it
so
real.
that's because, some people
Yeah.
look at stars not being humans, but they are
That's
humans.
true. That's true. I know. I think about that all the time. I'm just really happy to it's like a checkbox. We
Yeah.
finished I used to wonder what Michael Jackson was doing at any given moment as a kid, and now if he was alive, I'd be able to figure it out.
Yeah,
I think
right?
about that all the time, just as in my daydreams, wondering what the stars were doing when I'm doing XYZ,
Right.
and now it's reality. It's crazy. It's
Yeah, it is. Now, do you write your own material?
I do. I wrote many of the songs on my first album, and as I dabble or try to get back into the swing of things with writing, I am taking a bigger seat in that. I'm excited about that. I want to get better and start writing for others, perhaps,
Mhm.
So yeah, that's definitely something that I do.
Yeah, that's where the money's at.
Yeah,
Telling you.
that's true.
Writing from other people are now still getting paychecks from songs that are still playing now on the radio from back in the day, you know?
Yeah, true. It's a long-term strategy. So I'm working
Yeah.
with pretty cool producers, people who are like me from that era, but
Uh-huh.
still have a couple hits left in them, and we're just playing around and having a good time. It's really a fun moment right now. It's funny, there's a lot less, pretentiousness. Everybody's relaxed. We're older now and approachable, right? And so what are we gonna do? Complain?
Right, yeah.
So we're all friends now, no competitors. So that's
Yeah.
that's another good aspect. So I'm in the mix.
Yeah, that's good, that's good. And then, even if you had a hit back in the day, I noticed that a lot of the artists who had hits back in the day, they are now out touring from those same hits from back in the
It's
day.
a moment. I'm telling you, it's not just me. I'm riding a wave that began
Right.
maybe 2022.
Mhm.
Yeah, Sunshine Anderson, Changing Faces, Cut Close, Brownstone, Adina Howard's always working, Michele, Gina Thompson. We're all in this wave of new activity or a look back from those
Mhm.
who look at us as the OGs. So
Right,
it's really
right.
nice. There's a new fan base as well, like, rediscovering like with the new record that I have in the UK, that's a new market for me, but not a
Mhm.
new market. They've embraced what I did in the '90s, but having a record with a producer from the UK has made a difference in my formerly released music. So
Mhm.
it's just a moment where I'm being rediscovered and it's exciting. I think it's happening to all of us.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true because you get, you might not have as big as a fame here in America than you would in other countries because,
Mhm.
they look at you as being, I know some artists say they can go to other countries and then people treat them like oil, like, they
That's
get
right.
so
That's how it is
excited.
with me.
Yeah,
Completely different experience when I go over there, especially
yeah,
Paris.
yeah.
So, yeah, I learned a lot. That happened early on. It was instantaneous, so it's always been that way from the moment my first record was out, and,
Mm.
that market has sustained me over the course of this entire 25 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
So, I can't not be excited about having a record that started out over there. This is a good thing.
Right, right. What was something about the music industry back then that people on the outside didn't see?
I think the fact that we were all kind of faking it till we make it. It wasn't all diamonds and real money being thrown around. We were just putting out the perception that everybody was rich, but it wasn't like that. And I think people think everybody in the music industry, if they have a video, they're rich or they
Right.
have something that
Mm.
is more than what others have. And that's not necessarily true. I think that still exists today. I think there's
Mhm.
a perception that people in entertainment have way more money
Mm.
the norm, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I found that out too later on when I was
Mhm.
working in the industry back in the day. That
People doing working 2 jobs trying to hold on. Yeah.
yeah.
So just to hold on to
Mhm.
their and that's something I never had I had a hard time with.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was a real artist if I had to do something else, but that's a change. My mindset is different now, which
Yeah.
is part of the point you made about growth. This is real life. You got
Right.
kids, you got things to do, you got goals, you have to do more than one thing perhaps.
That's true. That is so true. Did success come with pressure that, that people didn't understand? when you were
Uh,
I mean, I keep saying when because you still are in the industry. I'm talking
that's
about when
okay.
you first got signed back in the day. Were you under a lot of, pressure to sell records from music execs and the record company and things of that nature?
It may not have been stated explicitly, but that it was highly competitive. Everybody had an artist. And
Mhm,
so it was all people talked about is what people charted in their first week of
mhm.
sales. And you were, expected to compete. It
Right,
was really, that was the hardest part for me. I
mm,
didn't like the idea of having to think about that. I wanted
right.
to think about
Y
the creative side.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was difficult. There was pressure for me to perform, and so I started looking at other artists differently, and it became a competition at that point.
mhm. Competition with you and the other artists?
Well, in my mind, how I
Oh, in
could
your head, okay,
pressure to be better or work, not be
okay.
worse and to compete, and that was not really where I wanted to be. I
You
hadn't
didn't
gotten that far in essence, but that's where my thoughts began,
mhm,
when I got dropped, and I was wondering why, my sales weren't really acceptable. I'm trying to find the data points that show
mhm,
me where in the process I went wrong. So
mhm,
that's unfortunate too, because there's no real answer to that. You don't really know. You'll never know. Some of it is just God,
mhm.
creativity. So
Yeah. Did they market you? Did you feel like they marketed you enough for your albums just to sell as much? Or you don't
I
think they don't put the
wouldn't.
money behind you like they should
I don't
have?
think so. Not. I would. Everybody says they would want more. I would say I did too. I think they could have done a little more.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had some organic shine because of the fact that Flex was on Hot 97. I mean,
Right.
nobody could beat that. I was always
Right.
having a record played. That was huge. It constituted for a lot of whatever wasn't spent, but I
Mhm.
would liked to have had a little bit more promotion. I saw
Yeah.
areas where other artists with less or fewer songs had more exposure.
Mhm.
So, hindsight is 2020. At the time, I was happy just to be there. You know what I
Well,
mean?
at least you didn't leave with debt, so maybe that's the good thing.
That's what I say today. That's really what matters because other that's something that can haunt you for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because you gotta look at it like a business, and at back
Right.
then, I didn't look at it like a business. I
Yeah.
used to just, I just looked at it as the artists and who they were signed to. But then later on, I realized, okay, this is a business, and the
It's
artist is the product when they sign.
about profitability. Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh, and when they were giving those big advances and spending money for those big, huge videos, the artist had to pay that money back
That's
before
right.
they even saw anything,
Right.
from my understanding. If I'm
That's
wrong,
right.
correct me.
A lot of money was spent in my project, but we didn't there was some choices that were made that weren't executed well, and we wasted money. There was some waste just figuring things out. So I'm not blaming anyone for anything. We were
Right.
all figuring it out at that time. We're burgeoning. Everybody had one popping up every day. The leadership wasn't legacy music industry people in all
Mhm.
cases. And
Right.
even if we're linked to a major, they didn't always have guidance like that. There may have been some guardrails, but there weren't, they were free with a budget to do what they will. And so I was on a hip hop label, and some of the things that I'm referring to were really inherent to R&B divas.
Mhm.
You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that was where my head was. So they
Mhm.
weren't. And as we tried different things, they absorbed the cost. And I can't feel that I lost anything with
Right.
with it like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
may not have resulted in the numbers, but everybody left with respect and a chance to start fresh.
Yeah. So, what was the hard decision, or did it feel necessary for your life at that time to, when it came down to your family and the music and
Leaving New
putting your
York,
music?
leaving, knowing that I had to move to the South to regroup, to step out of the celebrity space, be anonymous, and find a way to start over without distraction. That was the hardest part. That because I didn't want to leave whatever opportunities. I was so optimistic that all I had to do was stick it out, hang around a little bit longer and the next thing would come. But I just didn't want to keep putting my children through that type of uncertainty.
Yeah.
It became
Yeah.
an issue at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I understand that. Oh, where you
Sorry.
at? Oh, there you
Uh,
go. Like, where'd she go? She done disappeared
no,
on
So I hit the wrong button on
Uh,
my key.
did you ever feel like you had to choose between your career and your personal life? Was it pressure to do that from the industry?
Absolutely. I had
Okay.
children. It was at a time when you had to be ready at on call at any given moment if you wanted an opportunity.
Right.
Y Your name came up in conversation because so and so was in town in the studio, you needed to be able to jump up and go. There were
Mm,
times even before I became Yvette Michele that I have lost jobs because I would jump up if Mary fired all her background singers and was auditioning, and
mhm.
I run downtown because my homegirl who didn't get fired is letting everybody she knows who can sing know to come and try out. That's
Right.
how the style was, and so once I got the record deal, I quit my job. And
Mhm.
that wasn't recommended. So once I, lost the record deal, I
Mhm.
was hoping to just kind of perpetuate that same thing
Mhm.
until I couldn't, but it wasn't feasible. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of choice that
That you
had to
had to
happen.
make.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
children ended up being the saving grace. I think that having that responsibility, wanting to have a safety net so that I could do the music,
Mhm.
something that would pay the bills so
Yeah.
that because I was still very young and I didn't have any real foundation. I hadn't
Okay.
finished college and some stuff, some college, but not all of it. And I got married young and started having children before I turned
Mhm.
21.
Right.
And so I hadn't even really lived life. So
Yeah.
once I left, I'm sorry, allergies are terrible in Atlanta. But once I left, yeah, I was able to privately reinvent. I took the initiative to learn some new stuff. I've always been the type to read the news and figure out what's hot outside of what I'm doing.
Right.
And at the time, it was tech, and
Mhm.
so I decided to go into something that would require me to learn something new and be literate in something different and
Yeah.
challenging. And so that's kind of how it evolved, but I was just following breadcrumbs. I knew
Mhm.
I had circumstances and I had to resolve them, and it just led me to the next situation, and then I resolved it. And so it was just I knew that as I did all of that, the distance between me and the music just kept getting farther and farther away. And I kept thinking these are all means to an end for me to go back. And then by the time I look up, life has passed and
Right.
I find whatever, leads come my way throughout, but they're never enough to make me want to
Yeah. Yeah.
just ditch it all. I am so sorry.
Those allergies. Get you something to drink.
Yes, I am.
I got me some water right here because my throat gets dry.
Yeah. Yes. The pollen.
Mhm.
Yeah. It is horrible. I'm not used to it still after all these years.
Yeah.
These are great questions. Thank you for making me think.
That's because I like to talk. I could talk somebody under the table. Let me tell you, some people can't hang. I know they be like, "What? When she gonna be quiet?"
No, this is good. Good stuff. I really am proud of myself for overcoming. It didn't seem like I was overcoming, and those are the words that I choose today, but it didn't seem that way during. I
Right.
just now that I'm looking back and talking about it, it does seem like it was all organized, but it wasn't. I
Right.
had a lot of faith. I took a lot of risks.
Yeah.
I had a lot of belief that if it happened once, it could happen again, and I just had to wait for the right timing. And,
Right.
you know, I'm
Yeah.
not for the same things that I was looking for at 25
Right.
today,
Yeah.
So that's also good. I just
Yeah.
think I could take my foot off the gas a little bit, have some fun, sprinkle my taste, my thing in the mix of what's happening today.
Mhm.
There's still folks out there like me who like to dance, like to go outside.
Mhm.
Yo,
Yeah, I'm telling you. And people who listen to you had a hit record.
yeah,
You
I
had a hit
did.
record. What
That
was that
record was hot.
the first hit record you had? I was just listening to
Praise
it.
it for you, Mr. D. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just
That's
listening to
it.
that on YouTube. Cause when I got the call to interview you, I was like, Yvette Michelle. Where do I know that name from? And then I said, you know what? Let me go on YouTube. I bet you I know the song. And when I heard the record, I said, oh, okay. Cause sometimes you got to put a song with an artist.
That's true. Yes. I think I get overlooked for that. I mean, I have had people think I was Chrisette Michelle until I got on the phone. Isn't that terrible?
Yvette Michelle. Oh, they got you all mixed up.
I got a big tour about to happen. They're like, no, not you, boo.
Are you on tour right now?
No, I'm
Or
working on some
you
dates,
just work
lining up my dates now. So
okay,
they'll likely be overseas. And,
okay,
but I am hoping to get some spot dates in the US in the New York area for Pride Month.
okay.
So there's a couple of things in the works for the summer. I'm
Yeah,
excited about that. That's gonna be good.
and now, your kids are probably older now,
Yeah, they're adults. They
and you
are.
ain't gotta worry about all that,
No,
worrying about the
I'm
kids.
trying to get them to work for me now.
That's good. That is so good. Keep it in the
Yeah,
family.
yes. Well, things are so organic and entrepreneurial right now that anything is possible. I do need structured assistance because it is like starting over and learning again. But
Okay,
I am happy to include them in some of the things like traveling where they can still be part of the crew
right.
and have the experience and see what it's like behind the scenes. And we've been
Yeah,
able to do stuff like that.
yeah,
I have shows locally where I live in Atlanta, my entourage, but for the most part, we're trying to keep it professional because
yeah.
I don't be mom, in the streets like that.
It sounds
But
like you having a lot more fun now.
yeah, it's fun. It is fun that,
Yeah.
I've taken a load off, in other words. I don't know how else to explain it. Not as uptight. I don't feel like I have the same things to prove.
Right, right.
Being here is half the battle. One, being capable, sounding like my record when I do perform live, that's really huge.
Yeah.
I'm having a good time. This is elevated entertainment for me as an individual, you know,
Mhm.
to have this kind of fun in my personal space.
Right. Yeah.
I'm blessed as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah, you are, because you're
Thank
doing
you.
something that you're passionate about.
Yes.
And you're
Yes.
having fun at the same time. That's like me. That's like what I do, as an author and a podcast host. And I had to make the same choices like you did back in the day. I had worked in some films, some major motion pictures, and then I stepped away for my family, So I know exactly what you're talking about. And
Yeah.
now that my kids, like you said, they're grown, and I'm having a whole lot of fun right now.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of pressure, and I'm not even comparing myself to anybody else.
Uh-huh.
I'm not putting that kind of pressure on me. I'm just doing what I enjoy doing, and whatever happens with it happens.
That's right.
I ain't gonna
That's how
stress myself out looking for it.
That's it. Yes. I wanna make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward and I'm not missing anything
Right.
that everyone else needs to do that maybe that I'm ignorant of. Those are the things that I worry about. Am I following all do I have all the tools? Am I
Mhm.
current? Those things but as far as competing,
Right.
running around worrying, no,
Right.
no, I'm with you. This
Yeah.
is about fulfillment.
Yep.
So yeah, good for you. That's dope. I'm glad to hear that story because it seems like you're on your own when you're in the midst of it.
Yeah. You're
Running
in.
with what they do.
Mhm.
Maybe
And
only
you
gonna make
independent,
choices.
like, because, you're independent, and you can you like you said, like, I don't have a major back, and I don't have no big machine behind me, and I know some podcasts do, but
Mhm.
I can still move like I have a major machine behind me, you know? I can still
Mhm.
travel and do the same things as any other podcast can do and still make money, but I'm
That's right.
independent.
That's right. You can call your own shots and
Call
do
my
it when
own
and how you
shots,
wanna do it.
and can't nobody fire me.
That's right. Now you also gotta pay for everything. That's the
Yeah.
part that I have to get used to too.
Mhm. Right.
I had a label, I had a record deal, I was just being supported throughout the whole process, but I get to choose what matters and what I wanna put my chips on, and so that's kinda cool too. I
Yeah.
don't we didn't know where the money was being spent back in the day. It was
Right.
just being spent.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, because you didn't have control over the money
Mm-mm.
back then. It was
No,
the companies, right, that had the control.
exactly.
Yeah.
And with
That
all these apps being developed, before I pay for something, there's probably somebody out there doing it for free or
right.
experimentally. There's just so many options if you know how to navigate the web to do things.
Yeah.
It's got to be top shelf at first, but you'll at
Mhm.
least understand the mechanisms. I've been
Mhm.
stumbling on a lot, and I think that if you're determined, you can make it happen. You
That's
know.
true. That is so true. You sure can. Now, are you working on anything now, or thinking about returning to, or are you working on any kind of projects, new projects right now?
Yes, yes. I'm
Okay.
partnered with a few producers and I'm working on some house music with them. I'm
Mhm.
working on some remixes for the music that I just released in February with a couple of Atlanta producers that are in house. I'm really trying to drive my dance music this summer. There's some nostalgia work that I'm going to do with a couple of producers, R&B, and see how it goes. I'm definitely definitely exploring different relationships. I have a
Mhm.
couple of folks that I'm working with at the same time, and that's exciting because that wasn't really how I operated before. But yeah,
Yeah.
the baby stages right now, just pushing the record that I released in February to get
Mhm.
network going overseas, and I'm hoping to really broaden my production over there too. So
Yeah.
stay
Yeah, they have a lot of
yeah,
producers out there in Atlanta, don't they?
they do. They have a lot of good people out here, and
I know
so
you got what you got, Jermaine Dupri, I don't
I
know
am
who
Michael
else.
Cox,
Uh-huh.
Michael Made It.
Mm,
There's so many. I can go on, and then those are the ones we know.
yeah.
That's the thing. It's just right. The Church Boys, there's so
Yeah.
many. I mean, I could find a band like that because everybody plays instruments. That is the beauty of Atlanta.
Yeah.
But Atlanta is not a house music capital yet. They have a pocket. They don't have enough for me to really drive it here. So
Okay.
I partnered with the DJs that I know here by
Okay.
supporting their events, and
Yeah.
I'm going to give out some commemorative 45s of
That's what's
this
up.
song and try to get a remix.
Yeah.
That's a strategy for areas where there isn't a real strong house music presence.
Mhm.
'Cause, when the record label releases stuff, they already take it to the big markets. So,
Right.
trying to hit the pockets and just grow the movement and see how it goes. I
Yeah.
mean so
Yeah, that's what's up. Now, what would you say to someone chasing their dreams, but they're struggling right now? Because it's so much like back in the day, I remember you would have to record a demo and try to get it to the record labels, and hopefully you got signed. And if you did get signed, they would market you, like we were saying before, put money behind you. Now, today, it's not like that for new artists who want to try to come into the industry. So, what would you say to someone who's chasing their dreams right now, but they're struggling to get in right now?
well, if money is the issue, that has to be solved based on the means that you have
Mhm.
to address that. That is foundational, and sometimes it's, the first step. Reality, it is.
Yeah.
However, there are things you can do that don't cost money to prepare yourself fundamentally to write, to produce. You can learn
Mhm.
about products that you may need to work on. You can research the software that's being used, read
Mhm.
the latest periodicals to see what the industry is doing, or listen to podcasts. Just stay knowledgeable.
Right.
If you have money and you have a network, the best thing to do is to constantly put music out
Mhm.
because people are judging based on millions of records in the big pool of record submissions. And you
Mhm.
need to beat the numbers, the odds. If you
Right.
have the ability to do that,
Mhm.
or translate that, if you don't have the ability to put song after song out, translate
Right.
it into some serious marketing or
Mhm.
focused marketing for the one
Mhm.
or products you have. I mean, for me, I realize now some things have to be purchased. I have to be subscribed to certain social organizations to get
Mhm.
access to things or have my record get access to things they wouldn't normally it would not normally be exposed to. I need to get data from
Mhm.
certain things that are already out there for free that I might have to pay for. So there needs to be an understanding that there
Mhm.
has to be a budget for that. Early on, I didn't realize it was beneficial for me to pay for involvement in certain online social things. I
Right.
thought I should be invited, but that doesn't necessarily, there's so many things going on concurrently. You have to throw your head in the ring. That might be lesson number two. You can't wait to be invited.
That's true. You
You
just
have to
you
just,
gotta create your
you
own.
just
I
gotta
always
go.
say that.
That's
always
right.
say that. I ain't gonna sit back and wait for opportunities. I just
That's
create
right.
my own opportunity. I always been like that though. I've
Yeah.
never been a person to wait on anything. I just keep it moving. And if something happen along the way, then it happened. But I ain't gonna sit around and wait on it.
I didn't know what to do because I didn't know where I was returning at, what level I was coming back in at. I didn't know
Mhm.
if I was down to square one, and
Right.
I didn't want to be diminishing the perception that I thought highly of myself. Because
Right.
sometimes you don't present a certain way, you're gonna be treated that way. And I
That's
didn't know, you know what I mean? So I had to deal with all of that. I had to deal with the embarrassment associated with finding out, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
so a lot of stuff has been happening throughout this process that isn't it's significant, but it's not really stuff I talk about.
Mhm.
That's the whole reacclimation to my ego and whatever else is involved in just being in this space,
Mhm.
being friends with people or friendly with people who, maybe are in competition with me, perhaps, or having tough conversations in general. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So it's a lot. It's a lot of adjusting, but
Mhm.
I'm glad that I'm humble enough to know that this is considered not sweating the big stuff. This
Right.
is
Yeah.
fun. But I mean,
You making
nobody's
it
doing
fun.
brain surgery over here.
Right. And then although people might be in competition with you, you ain't in competition with them. You just doing what you enjoy doing.
I'm
And that's one of
oblivious.
the things that I notice on social media. People be in competition with people. And I'd be like, you ain't gonna drag me in no race. Let me
Right.
tell you. I ain't trying.
Yeah. What's the problem with me tagging your post? You don't want me on your page. I'm not on you don't want to be on my page. I mean, I don't understand these
Uh-huh.
dynamics that much. So I just,
I don't either.
you
I
know,
don't understand it either. And it's funny because you'll find people who are already successful who try to compete against you and you ain't even at their level yet. And I'm like, okay, it must be something special about me if they looking at me like that.
yeah, exactly. So I'm learning a lot about that dynamic. I'm like, wow, that's interesting. It seems high schoolish in some ways.
It
So
does.
I don't, but
Don't
I still know that it's part of the game, as you to
yeah.
the original question. So I do my best.
Yeah, I found that
How
out.
do
Yeah, I found that out too. I'm like, dealing with
people-
social media, I found that out too with people how they're competing against you, and you're not even thinking about competing against them, and then you're like, okay, why are you competing? Miss? You already
from
yeah.
people we don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
and I think it has a lot to do with low self-esteem too, because
yeah.
some people don't have the gift that you have. So therefore, their low self-esteem makes them feel better competing against you, even though they have more when it comes down to success.
That's true.
And that's the
That's
way I look at it. It's like, okay, it must be something about me that you're lacking.
they've identified it. They hone right in on the one thing. They've got all the other attributes, and we got one thing they don't.
Right.
I'm a target. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't let it bother me though. I just
Me
keep
either.
it moving.
I've
I don't even
grown a lot.
because like I said, I'm not into that. That's I'm too old for that to be playing kids games like that. And at my age, my patience is short. I ain't got none.
Right. You got less growth ahead of us than we got behind us. We gotta make these years count.
That's
Sorry.
right. We can't be sitting around stressing around about people. That was stuff we did in high school. I'm like, I ain't got time for that.
Exactly.
You want to
Exactly.
compete against me? You go ahead, but I ain't gonna be in no race with you. You gonna
That's
wear
it.
yourself out.
There you go. That's me.
I
So
tell people all the time, "Go ahead, you gonna wear yourself out because I ain't racing." Every time I put a post up, here you come with a post, and I'm like trying to
yeah,
outdo my
you
post,
know what
and
I'm
I'm like,
talking
you know
about.
what? You go on and
I
keep on.
felt petty even bringing it up, but you know exactly what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
and I'm like, okay,
Uh,
you go ahead,
see,
you gonna wear yourself out because I ain't racing with.
man, okay, I'm not over here trying to keep up. Shoot.
I ain't trying to keep up with you.
My minimum. Shoot, I'm
Right.
struggling, but yeah, it's
Oh, your
so, and I don't mean anybody any harm.
right.
I'm
You
so
just doing your thing. That's all.
yeah, that's all I So
Yeah,
yeah,
having fun. Come
having a
on
good
with.
old time, just laughing and oblivious. The people, I'm getting on people's nerves. So
That's because they see it they don't they seeing the happiness, they seeing you having a good time. That's what it
yeah,
is, so you keep on having a good time
thank you, thank you,
because you are so talented, and I listened to your music earlier today. I was jamming in the kitchen. I
thank,
said, "Okay, okay."
thank
I
you,
said,
boo. I'm gonna have to go check out your book. I didn't know that you wrote that book.
"Yeah, Unbreakable Mind from Pain to
Very
Power."
nice. Yes, we're
Yeah,
gonna have to go check.
I have 3 books now. My whole platform is based on mental health. My whole company is based around mental health. So, I started with the podcast 4 years ago and then I said, "Okay, it's time for me to write a book." So now I have 3 books. I have 2 children books and I have 1 adult book. So, and then I'm getting ready to go out and start doing some public speaking. So, like
Oh,
you, I'm just having fun
that's
and
right.
making money at the same time. So,
That's right. And
I'm
making
just
money
enjoying
too.
myself. And then I like the idea that being independent, you could travel whenever you want and still do what you enjoy doing.
That's right. That's
That's what
exactly
I
right.
like about it.
It's like taking vacations. It's like
Right,
training. I'm not in it for to nickel and dime
right,
anybody. I just want to have opportunities to have fun and be part of the group. The
right,
crew, the
right.
people who did this just like me. So
Yeah,
that's it.
yep. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, see, we here, we here. Well, Yvette, I just want to thank you for coming through and sharing your story so openly. I think what makes your journey so powerful is that it's not just about music, it's about the choices, the growth, and knowing what truly matters in your life. And that's
Thank
so
you.
important. And I know a lot of people are going to hear this and feel inspired, especially, hearing the balance between chasing a dream and choosing yourself and your family. And so I want to thank you, for your honesty. And I'm gonna kill my dog back there.
Okay.
He think he the boss of this house. But yeah, I'm in my studio now, and he wants me to go open up the patio out there. And
Can see he opened the door because I can see the sun in your face now.
yeah,
He's
the
like,
sun
wrap
is
it up. He knew we were supposed to be at.
and the sun is just killing me right now. So I want to thank you for your honesty and your time and your energy. I just love
Thank
your
you.
energy. And to everyone watching and listening, make sure you stay connected and stay inspired. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Unbreakable Mind podcast. Is there anything you want to say to the audience? Any new music? Any social media handles? Anything that you want to share out there with the audience who's listening?
Yes, in the spirit of Unbreakable Minds, being strong mentally is what got me through all of that. I just wanted to underline everything I said with that. I was always believing in me and God. The other thing that I want to say is if you want to check me out, come to Instagram, Threads, Facebook, and TikTok at Dear Yvette Michele, and we can talk. Thank
That's
you again. So,
Thank you, Yvette. It was a pleasure having you. It really
thank
was.
you.
And make
Yeah.
sure y'all like and subscribe to the channel. It don't cost nothing to hit that button. So I'll see you on the next episode. And Yvette, you enjoy your
Thank
thing
you.
out there traveling and going all over the world and just have
We're gonna
fun.
connect again. Imma give you an update.
Yes, you have to. You have to. If you're gonna be doing
Yes.
something here, let me
Imma
know.
expect one too.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
You
you take care of yourself
thank
and
you. You
you
too.
have a blessed one.
You too. Take
Uh,
care.
okay. Bye bye.